Hare Krishna, all the devotees. Dandavat pranam to all of you. I invite and welcome you to the early morning short Bhagavatam class from Radha Govinda Temple, Kulai, Mangaluru, for and on behalf of His Divine Grace, Sri Ramanishta Das Prabhuji. Let us begin our class with the prayers so that our mind is set and Lord Krishna's mercy is upon us, so that we understand the message very clearly. Ultimately, it's not the gyan, but it is the understanding of the message and transformation of ourselves, which is more important than anything else. Om Agnan Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmulitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I would request all your devotees, you also please chant along with me, keeping your mic on a mute, so that you equally get the same benefits. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sopadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavasya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Nitansha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. I request you all to follow me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Janmadhyasya yato anvayat itiratas chartheshu abhinah swarat.
Janmadasya yatonvayad tarata chartheshu abhijnaswarat.
Tene brahmaradaya adikavai muyyanti yat suraya.
Tene brahmhridaya adikavaye muhyanti yat surayah.
Tejo vari mrudam yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo mrusha.
Tejo bhari mrida vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha.
Namna swena sada nirasta kuhakam satyam param dhimahi.
Damna sada nirasakam satyam param dhimahi.
धर्मः प्रोजहिता कैतवोऽत्र परमो निर्मत्सराणां सताम्।
धर्म प्रोचितकैतवोऽत्र परमो निर्मत्सराणां सताम्।
वेद्यमवास्तवमत्र वस्तु विशिवदम् तापत्रयोन्मूलनम्।
वेद्यं वास्तवमत्र वस्तु विशिवदं तापत्रयोन्मूलनम्।
श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते किं वा परैश्वरः।
श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते किं वा परैरीश्वरः।
तद्योरद्य अवरुध्यतेऽत्र कृतिभिः शुश्रूषुभिस्तत्क्षणात्।
अवरुध्यते शुश्रूषुभिस्तत्क्षणात्।
निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलम् सुखमुखात् अमृतद्रवसंयुतम्।
निगमकल्पतरुगलितं शुकमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतम्।
पिबत भागवतं रसमालयम् मुहुरहो रसिकभुवि भावुकः।
पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः।
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमम्।
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव
नरं चैव
नरोत्तमम्।
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये।
देवीं
देवीं
सरस्वतीं
सरस्वतीं
व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्।
शृणुतां स्वकथः कृष्णः पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः।
शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण
स्वकथां कृष्ण
पुण्यं श्रवणः
पुण्यं श्रवणकीर्तनः
हृदयन्तः स्तूयभद्राणि विदुनोति सुरस्तथा।
हृदयन्तो हि
यानि
शृणोति
विदुनोति शृण्वन्ति
नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु
भद्रेषु
नित्यं
नित्यं भागवत
भागवत सेवया।
नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया
भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी।
भगवती
उत्तमश्लोके से भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी.
By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of the Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. With this solace and confirmation and guarantee of Srila Prabhupada, we go ahead with today's class. Who would like to recite today's verse first? Rekha Mataji, go ahead.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु।
Hare
यथा तरोर्मूलनिषेचनेन तृप्तन्ति तत्स्कन्धभुजोपशाखाः प्राणोपहाराच्च यथेन्द्रियाणां तथैव सर्वार्हणम् अच्युतेज्या। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna Mataji. Madhubhai Mataji.
हरे कृष्ण। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। यथा तरोर्मूलनिषेचनेन तृप्यन्ति तत्स्कन्धभुजोपशाखाः प्राणोपहाराच्च यतेन्द्रियाणाम् तथैव सर्वार्हणम् अच्युतेज्य। थैंक यू प्रभु जी।
चित्रा मोहिनी देवी दासी जी, हरे कृष्ण माता जी।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय तातरोर्मूलनिषेचन तृप्यन्ति तत्स्कन्धभुजोपशाखाः प्राणोपहाराच्च यतीन्द्रियाणां तथैव सर्वाराणम् अच्युतेज्य। हरे कृष्ण।
अंजलि माता जी।
हरे कृष्ण। यथा तरोर्मूलानिषेचनेन तृप्यन्ति तत्स्कन्धाभुजोपशाखाः प्राणोपहारा च यथेन्द्रियाणां तथैव सर्वाहणम् अच्युते च। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु।
सूर्य प्रकाश राव प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय यथा तरोर्मूलनिषेचनेन तृप्तन्ति तत्स्कन्धभुजोषेकाः प्राणोपहराच्च यथेन्द्रियाणां तथैव सर्वहरणमच्युते एज्या। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु।
लक्ष्मी माता जी।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। यथा तरोर्मूलनिषेचनेन तुप्यन्ति तत्स्कन्धभुजोपशाखाः प्राणोपहारा च यतेन्द्रियाणां तथैव सर्वहरणम् अच्युतेज्य। धन्यवाद प्रभु जी। हरे कृष्ण।
प्रफुल्ला माता जी।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। यथा तरुर्मूलनिषेचनेन तृप्यन्ति तत्स्कन्धभुजोपशाखाः प्राणोपहाराच्च यथा इन्द्रियाणां तथैव सर्वाहरणम् अच्युतेज्य। हरे कृष्ण। थैंक यू।
मधु सोनी माता जी।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय यथा तरूरमूलनिषेचनेन तृप्यन्ति तत्स्कन्धभुजोपशाखा प्राणोपहारच्च यथेन्द्रियाणां तथैव सर्वारहणम् अच्युतेज्य। थैंक यू प्रभु जी। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण श्रीनिवास राव प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
हरे कृष्ण।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय यथा तरोर्मूलनिषेचनेन तृप्यन्ति तत्स्कन्धभुजोपशाखाः प्राणोपहराच्च यतेन्द्रियाणां तथैव सर्वाहरणम् अच्युतेज्य। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
आयुषी माता जी।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। यथा तरोर्मूलनिषेचनेन तृप्यन्ति तत्स्कन्धभुजोपशाखा प्राणोपकारा च यतेन्द्रियाणां तथैव सर्वाहनम् अच्युतेज्य। थैंक यू वेरी मच प्रभु जी।
सुब्बाराव प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु जी।
यथा तरोर्मूलनिषेचनेन तृप्यन्ति तत्स्कन्धभुजोपशाखाः प्राणोपहाराच्च यथेन्द्रियाणां तथैव सर्वार्हणमच्युतेद्या।
थैंक यू प्रभु जी। विजया माता जी।
हरे कृष्ण माता जी। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। यथा तरोर्मूलनिषेचनेन तृष्यन्ति तत्स्कन्धभुजोपशाखः प्राणोपहारा च यतेन्द्रियाणां तथैव सर्वाहनमच्युततेजः। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
सुजाता माता जी। हरे कृष्ण माता जी।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। यथा तरोरमूलनिश्चेचानेन तृप्यन्ति तत्स्कन्धभुजोपशाखाः प्राणापहारश्च यतेन्द्रियाणां तथैव सर्वार्हणम् अच्युतेजया। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। थैंक यू सो मच। हरे
माता
कृष्ण।
जी। लीना माता जी।
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
यथा तरुर्मूलनिषेचनेन तुप्यन्ति तत्सन्दभुजोपशाखा प्राणोपहाराच्च यथेन्द्रियाणां तथैव सर्वाहरणम् उच्यते च हरे
Hare Krishna. Anyone left out?
Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Go ahead, Pushpa.
Pranams Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. यदा तरोर्मूलनिशेषणेन तृप्यन्ति तत्स्कन्दभुजोपशाखाः प्राणोपहाराच्च यदेन्द्रियाणां तदैव सर्वार्हणमच्युतेष्य हरे कृष्ण प्रभुजी थैंक यू प्रभुजी
Thank you,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Go ahead, Mataji.
यथा तरुर्मूलनिषेचनेन तृप्यन्ति तत्स्कन्दभुजोपशाखा प्राणोपहाराच्च यथेन्द्रियाणां तथैव सर्वार्पणमच्युतेज्य. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Can I ask Sujata Mataji to read the synonyms for us?
Yata, yes, taroha of a tree, mula, the root, nishechanena, by watering, tripyanti, are satisfied, tat, its skanda, trunk, bhuja, branches, upashakaha, and twigs, prana, the life air, upaharat, by feeding, cha, and yata, yes, indriyanam, of the senses, tata eva, similarly, Sarva of all demigods, Arahana, worship, Achyuta of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ijya, worship. As Thank you, Prabhu.
Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji. Translation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. As pouring water on the roots of tree energizes the trunk, branches, twigs, and everything else, and as supplying food to the stomach enlivens the senses and limbs of the body, simply worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead through devotional service automatically satisfies the demigods who are part of that Supreme Personality. Purport. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sometimes people ask why this Krishna consciousness movement simply advocates worship of Krishna to the exclusion of the demigods. Am I loud enough for all of you? I think my Bluetooth is not working. Can you
Yes,
hear
Clear,
me?
Prabhuji.
Yes,
Oh,
Prabhuji.
Very clear, Prabhuji.
thank you. Thank you. The answer is given in this verse. The example of pouring water on the roots of the tree is very appropriate. In Bhagavad Gita 15.1, it is said, Urdhva Moolam Adha Shakham. The cosmic manifestation has explained downward, has expanded downward, and the root is the supreme personality of the Godhead. As the Lord confirms in Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. If I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds, Krishna is the root of everything. Therefore, rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, or Krishna Seva, Krishna Seva means automatically serving all the demigods. Sometimes it is argued that karma and jnana requires a mixture of bhakti in order to be successfully executed, and sometimes it is argued that bhakti also requires karma and jnana for its successful termination. The fact is, however, that although karma and jnana cannot be successful without bhakti, bhakti does not require the help of karma and jnana. This is very important. The fact is, however, that although karma and jnana cannot be successful without bhakti, bhakti does not require the help of karma and jnana. Actually, as described by Srila Rupa Goswami, Anya Abhilashita Sunyam Janma Karmadi Anavritam. Pure devotional service should not be contaminated by the touch of karma and jnana. Modern society is involved in various types of philanthropic works, humanitarian works, and so on. But people do not know that their activities will never be successful unless Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is brought into the center. One may ask what harm there is in worshipping Krishna and the different parts of his body, the demigods. And the answer is also given in this verse. The point is that by supplying food to the stomach, the indriyas, the senses, are automatically satisfied. If one tries to feed his eyes or ears independently, the result is only a havoc. Simply by supplying food to the stomach, we satisfy all of the senses. It is neither necessary nor feasible to render separate services to the individual senses. The conclusion is that by serving Krishna, or called Krishna Seva, everything is complete. As confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrut Madhya Leela 22.62, Krishna Bhakti Kaire Sarva Karma Karta Hoy. If one is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, everything is automatically accomplished. Very nice purport, very simple, straightforward, and very dogmatic. It doesn't leave any ambiguity anywhere. And this is a subject matter that we have been discussing and trying to understand it fully well, even in Bhagavad Gita. Though the message is not new, it is now crystal clear and calls spade a spade. Now let's look at some of the facts. What do we mean when we call SPOG, or Supreme Personality of the Godhead? You can raise your hand to answer this question. What does it include? When you say the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, it includes A, B, C, D. Anyone? Very good. Madhumai Mataji, please go ahead.
Yes, Prabhuji, when we utter the word Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, it includes all his expansions, all his devotees, and all the living entities, and everything else in the material and the spiritual world.
Okay, Mataji, but then if we say that Supreme Personality of the God has had 6 opulences, does it mean that all of us also have 6 opulences?
Supreme Personality of Godhead has 6 opulences 100%, but all others have got partially. Living entities are only minimally, that is infinitesimally they are having. Whereas the other expansions have got certain percentages, like Narayana has got 60%, and Sri Krishna has got 64 qualities. Narayana has 60 qualities, and Lord Shiva has only 55, and
Yes,
Brahma has
Mataji, we'll go into it later on. Thank you, Mataji. Surekha Mataji, go ahead, please. Thank you, Madhumai Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So when we say Supreme Personality of Godhead, it means that anything and everything from in the material world and in the spiritual world, everything emanates from Him only. He is the origin of just everything, whether in any of the
It's the cause
worlds,
of all
like
causes.
cause of all causes. Yes, right. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karana. So he is the cause of all causes. Everything emanates from.
The Supreme Personality of the Godhead is the cause of all causes. That's true. He is the creator of the entire universe and everything within universe. And he is controller and destroyer as well. What I am asking is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when you say, what does it include? Vijaya Mataji? Okay, Madhusoni Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I'm just referring it through from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Somewhere I just read it includes Nam, Gun, Leela, and it's Parshada Prabhuji. So it's a name.
Okay. Okay. Yes, that's part of it. That when you are talking about Supreme Personality of the Godhead, you include all 4 features. Fine. Okay. Anyone else wants to try? Basically, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when we say, we include 3 things. Number 1, the Lord Himself, person, the Lord Bhagwan Himself, Krishna Himself, that's number 1. Number 2 is all His energies. And He has internal potency or energy, the marginal potency or energy, and external potency or energy. And the third thing is all the portions or portion of the portions, expansion of Lord Krishna. So these are the 3 things that we include when we say that Supreme Personality of the Godhead. In other words, what I mean, maybe my question was not very clear. I apologize for that. But I think what I wanted to know was that when you say Supreme Personality of the Godhead, it is the Lord Himself, His energies, and His expansions. So by simple one word, we are including all 3 people. What is actually the relationship between the demigods and the Supreme Personality of the Godhead or Lord Krishna? This is very nicely explained by Srila Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita. That Lord is like an emperor and he has ministers and officers working for him to control and administer the entire universe. And those are the demigods. Demigods are actually superior to human beings. They live longer, they have better intelligence, much more opulences, and they are very powerful than any human being or any living entity. And thus, the living beings and the human entities, though they are inferior, there is a word used known as asama urdhva, means no one is equal to him or above him. And that is why Lord Krishna is the ultimate. None of the demigod can come close to or at any time above the Lord Krishna. So that's the relationship between the demigods and the Lord Krishna. there is a nice reflection of Prabhupada on the 15.1 verse where it says that the material world or material manifestation is actually image of the spiritual sky or spiritual world. And the example given is a banyan tree, which is on the seashore or on the shore of the lake. The normal banyan tree or the one with the roots in the land and the branches and twigs on the high up in the sky with the fruits and the leaves is the spiritual banyan tree. And the image that you see in the water, where the roots are above going towards the Lord, and the twigs and the branches are all going down. They are going, though they are going downwards. That's the reflection, and that's why it is saying that the material manifestation is imaginary or illusive. This is an illusion, it's not the fact. And since it is not the fact, what you see is reverse of the original image. Remember one fact which Prema Kishori Mataji said very nicely, that the interface between the spiritual and the material manifestation is desire. Remember that fact, and almost half of your questions arising at various times while you read the scripture will be solved by this fact. It's the desire which is an interface between our material life and the spiritual life. The fourth thing that Srila Prabhupada is trying to explain very nicely is the Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. What is the difference between the three? We learned in Srimad Bhagavatam that Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga are like staircases, very hard to climb, difficult to go up quickly, and regrettably, it stops short of the lotus feet of the Lord. In other words, if you involve yourself only in the Karma Yoga and the Jnana Yoga, you will not be able to reach the lotus feet of the Lord because it does not go there. It stops much shorter to the lotus feet of the Lord. Although I explained earlier, it's much harder and much difficult, toiling to climb these staircases. However, Bhakti Yoga is explained by Srila Prabhupada earlier as an elevator, and it reaches right at the doorstep of the lotus feet of the Lord. So if you take the elevator, it's much easier, much simpler, not toiling and hardworking, and still you can completely execute the loving devotional services, which can become your loving transcendental devotional service when you reach the Lord's lotus feet. In other words, what I'm saying is Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga will never completely liberate you. It's only the Bhakti Yoga which can do it with or without Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Mind you, we are talking about the situation in the present time, that is Kali Yuga. Things may not be as it is in the present time, because in Satyuga, people had nice senses, very high intelligence, long life, and the surrounding also was with the spiritual environment. Prabhupada is raising a question that what is the harm of worshipping Krishna and different parts of the body, that is demigods. It's actually, if you look at it, it gives a very good example that if you feed the stomach, we all eat our food and feed our stomach and remain enlivened with all the senses and the parts of the body functioning normally. But imagine if you need to serve separately, it means you have to feed your eyes and you need to feed your ears. This is not possible. In fact, it may create a havoc. And that's why Prabhupada says that not only it is not necessary, but it is actually not feasible to feed different parts with the material needed. Same example is true for the roots of the trees. It's only watering the roots of the trees and nutrients to the roots that goes all the way to the trunk, the branches, leaves, and the twigs. But you don't need to separately water twigs or the leaves. Even if you want to, it will not be possible. So it is neither necessary nor feasible. He is telling us very clearly that something that we think is not even feasible. And at the end, Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains that when you are doing Krishna Seva or loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, everything is automatically accomplished. The one of the area which is always a little bit gray area that looks like to us we are all neophytes and we are just learning our way through, and we are hardly walking, we are just more or less standing in the spiritual path at the moment. We will feel that if you have such a great knowledge about the Lord, you know everything about the Lord, the transcendence of the Lord, that jnana should be enough to reach the liberation. And so also we feel that if we are doing all the work for Lord Krishna, we should be able to have the liberation. That is not possible because the jnana does lead to a bhakti. What Lord looks at is your loving responses and your loving devotion. He looks at your ahaituki, without any reason, and aparihata, without any break in the execution of the devotional service. He doesn't look at what knowledge you have or what karma you have. In one of the verses, it is explained in Bhagavad Gita that even if you do not have a knowledge, if you start performing devotional services, Lord Krishna says, I will give you a knowledge by sitting in your heart, how to come to me. So the knowledge that is required is something transcendental that can come to us automatically. This partly uh, uh, explains the fact that people in the Satyuga used to stay in the mountain caves and they used to do the austerity and penances for long years, and virtually the knowledge was downloaded to them. It must have been the fact, now we understand, that this is possible as Lord Krishna evidently himself speaks about it. So this is something that we must understand, that you don't need to really read or do a karmas that are cognizant with the Lord Krishna. But if you do it, that will create a strong faith. And faith or Shraddha is very important first stage to achieve in the devotional service. In short, Prabhupada explains in this verse, at the end, if you can say, that worshipping Lord Krishna, only doing Krishna services, doing with total devotion, love, and affection, certainly can take you right to his lotus feet, where you can get the transcendence above the material world, or liberation, or whatever you call it, or a mukti from the birth and death cycle. Santi Padma Devi Dasi. Yes, Mataji, your hand is raised. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Santi Rupini Padma Devi Dasi. Mataji, your hand is raised. You are muted, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Okay. Right. This is the explanation of this verse. Any question, any addition, any further discussion, or some revelations? Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, you have done it completely very well, Prabhuji. Explained it so well. I don't think we have to add anything. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Sujata Mataji, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.
I think we all have learned together.
Very
Anyone else?
nicely explained, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Really, this what is the key point? What I gathered from this purport is jnana and karma require at times the bhakti yoga to execute successfully, but bhakti does not require karma and jnana. Straight more precisely or emphatically, what he says is pure devotional service doesn't require the jnana and karma. And this all this one. That's why in Bhagavad Gita. uh, Krishna explains to Arjuna all this karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, and bhakti yoga. Even bhakti yoga, he has still ananya bhakti, etc. 4 stages. If you can't do all these things, also you just serve me, chanting Hare Krishna and following. And he says that Sarva Dharmam Parityajya Mame Namaskuru. You leave all these things, surrender to me, and that way you can, and you take the decision. Now I have explained everything. Your decision whether to take sannyasi or do war. Am I correct, Prabhuji? Very nicely explained, Prabhuji. This purport is very clear and straight to the point. So Bhakti Yoga is very, very important for me, for us to elevate ourselves. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Actually, if you really look at it, surrendering
Converse is not true, na? Converse is not true.
That's
Bhakti
true.
is not the
That's
Hare
very
Krishna,
true.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Surrendering Lord, if we achieve somehow to totally surrender to the Lord, I think that's more or less an ultimate in bhakti. The lesson that I would learn as a neophyte from this is, and let's be practical, we have choices like reading the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, attending the classes and chanting, or attending Mangala Arati, etc. The tendency that I had, I don't know about others, but I had was I would rush for the class, I would try and read more, and then when the chanting comes, by then exhausted, and so some part of the chanting, God, I'll do it tomorrow. What this purport tells, what Prabhupada is really telling us is that we must chant more regularly, more consistently, with more determination, and with a better quality. That is the most important thing in the entire bhakti pattern or entire Krishna movement that we are in. The second thing that comes is listening Srimad Bhagavatam, as we all are gathering together here in the morning and listening each other, so with their vibrations, the slokas and then the purport, the translation, etc. Each thing matters a lot, but first is chanting, second is Shravanam, and then, of course, we must do this Maranam and attending other things as well. But what I'm trying to say is, as neophyte, the message that I would carry home is chanting is the most important part which can never be neglected at any time of the day. So that's what I am trying to learn and now see that remains the top priority. Hare Krishna. Anyone would like to say more or add something? Well, thank you very much, all the devotees. My Dandavat Pranam to you. Have a most wonderful day. Thank you for attending the class. Pancha Kalpataru.
Kalpataru Abhyascha Kripa Sindhuvacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji,
Hare
Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna Prabhuji,
Dhanyavad
Dandavat
Prabhuji.
Pranam.
Hare Krishna
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna
Dandavat Pranam.
Prabhuji, Namo Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Prabhuji, thank you.
Hare
Very
Krishna.
nicely
Pranam.
explained, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
One more